Well, joining me is our editor-in-chief, our supreme commander, and Australia's Ayatollah of anti-wokeness, the great Rowan Dean. Rowan, great to speak to you on this first edition of Counterculture and Spectator TV, Spectator Australia TV, I should say. How are you?
Well, congratulations, Gideon. I'm very well, but I'm even happier that you've got Spectator Australia TV up and running, this brilliant show, Counterculture. We've been working towards this for a long time, working in conjunction with you at the IPA. You, of course, are a great Spectator writer, as are many of your colleagues.
Thank you.
This is really exciting stuff for you to be able to interview writers of the Spectator, for you to be able to do interviews, give us your own incredible Gideon take on so much that is going on in the world.
That could be a mixed
really
blessing.
Really exciting for the Spectator Australia, so terrific job.
I'm very mindful that in being given this gig, I am standing on the shoulders of giants, and that's not just the that's not me trying to flatter you, but necessarily, but with the Spectator Australia, but really the Spectator main brand in the UK. I mean, that is, I think, what is it? One of, if not the longest running magazines in the world.
It is now the longest running magazine in the world. It's been going since the late 1700s with various different owners throughout its history. It's had a very colourful, checkered history, but all along it has always been about putting forward original, quirky, interesting, honest, truth-seeking takes on what is happening in culture, what is happening in politics, what's happening in life. One of the very, very first editions, Gideon, of The Spectator in the UK was an article. And remember, these used to be printed on little Roneo sheets that they'd hand around the coffee houses of London back in the late 1700s. Hence the Spectator's
coffee house
for all things caffeine. We can talk about that in a second. But the coffee houses of London would hand out these little Roneoed leaflets, and people would write essays. And the Spectator was one of the very, very first ones there. It's the only one that still survives. Others were like Punch, and there were all sorts of famous names.
That's
but
right,
Spectator
Punch.
is still here with us. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, what they used to do, one of the very first editions, Gideon, which you will love, of The Spectator in the UK, was a report, an article by a young journalist who was saying, we got to watch this bloke over in France. There's this young guy in the army called Napoleon Bonaparte.
No way.
Absolutely.
Really?
And they read about him first in The Spectator before he was anything. So there you go. That's the tradition we have to live up to. They're the giants whose shoulders we have to stand.
So Napoleon's first profile piece was in The Spectator, you're saying?
Exactly.
And that brings us to this week's edition. You know, we had, you just spoke about Napoleon, the profile piece on a somewhat belligerent, very territorially ambitious statesman. As I'll talk about with Sarah Dudley in a minute, this edition of The Spectator Australia features another expansionist, iron fist type world leader, that is Xi Jinping. And we'll talk about what's in the edition in a little bit. But firstly, just to pick one example out of a not so strong leader, one of my favourite pieces in this edition was Judith Sloan, who had an absolutely fantastic takedown of boy wonder Zach Kirkup over in WA. I mean, the L-plate leader that nobody wanted, or his party room colleagues presumably did for some reason. Talk us through what Judith Sloan outlines in her piece about his crazy environmental policy.
Judith, of course, comes from an economic background. She's very knowledgeable on anything to do with the economy and much else besides. She also has a wonderful writing style, and she has a great wit and great insights. And she doesn't beat about the bush, Gideon. She says, quite frankly, the WA leader is nuts and the WA policy is nuts. And this is this net zero policy that Zach Kirkup, his name is. She describes him as the teenage boy leader of the Liberal Party there in WA. She's not going to put his name and number in her Rolodex because she doesn't think his career has very far to go beyond the election in a few weeks' time. But she makes the point that West Australia to be embarking on net zero is just craziness. And she goes through the numbers, she goes through the details. It's built on this fantasy to do with hydrogen, an unproven technology. It's all in her words, it's a complete misunderstanding of how the energy market should work and how energy the entire energy market and energy creation should work. It's a fascinating article.
The other thing that gets me about Kirkup is one of many, many things, is recently WA was thrown into a 5-day lockdown over a single case. It was totally pointless, totally unnecessary, and comes after we had border closures in Fortress WA, which separated hundreds of families and has proven to be an all-round nuisance. And for all that, Zac Kirkup was given this brilliant issue, this pointless lockdown, and he not only supported it, he said, oh no, and this isn't even up for debate. Not up for debate, hello? What is going through this bloke's head?
Well, this is what happens when political parties forget their roots, forget their basic set of values that the people who have supported that party for many, many decades believe in. And you have a situation here where they have decided, let's hop on the woke green agenda, and with, I think, disastrous results. And I think those results will be echoed in the election. We will see that go woke, go broke, or in this case, lose your seat.
I personally can't wait for this election. I can't wait to see this Kirkup guy completely smashed. All Liberals and anybody on the centre right of politics needs to learn the lesson. You do not win by outlefting Labor. It is just a mistake I see so many times, time and time again. And the other thing I hope is that these votes don't necessarily flow back to Chairman Mark and the Labor Party, because he doesn't deserve to win either. But I hope that we see minor parties get a look in. I hope Aaron Stonehouse, the great LDP upper house member and the great Libertarian, is re-elected. I think that's the best we can hope for. But Judith's piece is excellent. The edition is excellent as always. To you, Rowan Dean, thank you for joining us on our maiden voyage.
Thanks, Gideon. You're doing a sensational job. Thanks, mate.
Cheers, mate. Checks in the mail. And remember, if you want to read more from our outstanding stable of talent at The Spectator Australia, just head to spectator.com.au. And if you like what you see, we have a special offer to celebrate the launch of Spectator Australia TV. Sign up today and you can enjoy all of our content for 3 months absolutely free. That's 3 months of the weekly Spectator Australia magazine, all the articles in our online section flat white, and great international authors like Douglas Murray, Brendan O'Neill, James Dellingpole, and many, many more. All that free for 3 months. You would be crazy to miss this deal. To take it up, just head to spectator.com.au.